And I'll just button here. And if and here you are. Our party is starting in session 1 of Ravenloft, and we're at the Manitor's Tail at the keep on the borderlands to the Transylvanian mountains, we'll call them. And our pair of worthy actually higher level characters have been around a while and have a reputation one way or another, and have found themselves drawn together at this tavern and going in the same direction. In the morning, have kind of agreed to assist each other in the next leg of their journey. And who would like to start?
So I'll kick us off if that's okay. So yeah, you see before you sat in the booth a young lady whose attire is really not befitting of this rough borderlands tavern that you find yourselves in. Dressed regally in expensive fabrics, fine jewellery. You sat with the Lady Elizabeth Marmaduke. And she's explained to you in a rather haughty tone as she sits there, really not trying not to touch any of the dirty surfaces around the booth, and ordering fine wine that the tavern just doesn't cater for. So she has to sunk herself to whatever it is that they have available. And her footman, William Taylor, or Mr. Taylor as he's known to the Lady Marmaduke, I'll come to describe in a moment. She talks how she's been travelling from her father's lands, the Lord Marmaduke, a fearsome figure of ill repute, to across the mountains to Baron Gustav, her uncle's, for reasons which she doesn't reveal. But she comes across to you as a rather snooty character, looking down upon those around her, and only really very reluctantly agreeing to travel with these two newcomers. With her is William Taylor, dressed as a footman, wearing her father's regalia, and with his insignia brazened on the chest. Again, dressed in fine clothes, but there's an element of like edginess around Mr. Taylor. Whilst he dresses the part and acts the part, you can tell there's something a little bit more rough around the edges about the fighter. And he sits rather quietly, just obeying the lady's Marmaduke's commands when he has to, ensuring her glass is refilled, but scowling and looking rather suspiciously at the two new companions sat with them.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so the more outgoing of the two would be Scad Flack. He's the bard, and you'll notice he's dressed in these sort of bright red and gold fabrics, and he's kind of carelessly got a bit of a toupee. He tries to hide it, but it makes him quite self-conscious. You may have noticed a couple times if it becomes askew that he's not quite bald, but he's losing a lot of his hair. And he's hoping, he's mentioned it a few times and noticed the Lady Marmaduke, and of course he would be graciously trying to help her out in any way as well. Of course not getting too close because he notices William, Mr. Taylor, and probably a little scared. He's got his bandolay, I believe is the instrument that he's got. It's this really cool, got a small body with a long neck and 3 strings, and so he's hoping at a certain point that he'll be able to play for his dinner. And seated across from him is Muzzlehatch, and he is an elderly cleric fellow, and it's at first a little hard to tell his age because he ritually shaves his head and eyebrows, like he's completely hairless. And he also, Muzzlehatch will order some additional food and drink for his god and just leave it sort of reverently at the edge of the table. Part of his daily routine. And they'll tell you a bit about what they have done to come around here, because they noticed that the lady, of course, is a little weary about sitting with the two newcomers. They try to, try to come off as normal people. So Muzzlehatch will talk about how him and his congregation, or some of them at least, had recently gone and cleansed a sort of an evil temple and sort of barely made it out by the skin of their teeth. And now he's going on a journey across these mountains, and he's of course very, very grateful to meet others that are traveling the same way. He takes a look at Mr. Taylor and realizes that, okay, well, this guy's going to be pretty fit to helping lead us through this place. And yeah, Scad will talk about how him and his friends recently fought off a band of gypsies at a carnival, and that's where he got his instrument from, was in that whole battle. And that him and his crew have since split ways, and it's also finding his way traveling through these mountains, hopefully. And he kind of mentions this to Lady Marmaduke. Once he figures out what's wrong with his hair, he will look to becoming a court bard again.
Awesome.
Good.
What symbol would Muzzlehatch have? Or do you have a symbol or a sign or something?
Yeah,
Do you-
his god is the Sumerian ruler Enlil.
Sumerian.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, it's kind of like a Babylonian type thing. I'll just try to find an actual symbol and send a picture to you guys.
And your instrument, that's interesting. So you got it from some gypsies. Uh, Maybe you should be the one who's cursed, but what on your instrument, is there some sort of motif or something? Like is it culturally like the gypsies built it? And is it like would gypsies recognize it?
Um, well, actually, now that he's had it for a bit, I know bards can actually roll to see if they know a magic item. So we could always do
Mm,
that and see if he knows where it comes from, or if he's just like, yeah, it's a beautiful sort of inlays.
nice.
But it's
Yeah.
actually, yes, Scad, the one who took the instrument, is the cursed one, like with his hair.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry, because I got mixed up with the shaving. Uh,
I know, it's
that's
hilarious.
okay. So and he's probably self-conscious. Got a toupee. Okay, that's great. So
And as
Scad.
As Scad's telling the story, the Lady Marmaduke's kind of looking down upon the bard, effectively like he stole the lute, his instrument, and then she begins to tell stories of how she was taught to play the lute as a young girl, and talking about the finest instrument makers in the land, and kind of giving his instrument the once over, to see whether it lives up to those expectations.
And yeah, I'd graciously pull it up and do a little ditty, kind of show everybody that the intonation is proper, the action isn't too high.
Describe now, Jim. I've told you what the item is. So Jim, you're not turning down the offer, right? You're gonna play a ditty.
Yo, for sure. And
Okay.
I'll start just kind of low so that she hears, and then, I'll turn and face the rest of the tavern and start playing louder.
Can't help it. Oh, okay. Well, let's have a quick roll to see how well you play it, because this instrument's a bit new to you, in a sense, but you've had it long enough that. By the way, the instrument is, how is it crafted and how does it look? And we'll move on pretty quick here, but give me a quick. Let's do a dexterity check just to see how well you play it this time. You've had too many drinks or something, perhaps. That's probably
My
less.
dexterity is 17.
So these beautiful tones come into the bar, and they carry like almost supernaturally through the building, Jim. And what kind of tune do you play? And you notice people heads are turning and foots are tapping, and uh, it sounds very impressive.
At first, it's very low, and it's almost just a couple of simple chords thrown together with a light sort of melody that I'll hum on top of it, and it builds into this beautiful song about a manticore and a journey that a young man had to take through hills much like these hills that we are right beneath, and it's a sort of uplifting walking tale.
Indeed. Uh, and even Lady Marmaduke can't help, even if she doesn't show it. It's the man can play.
Oh, very much. She kind of hums along, and you see like the joy beaming on her face, where she was a little bit, well, a very serious tone before, nearly scowling at the newcomers. You can tell that the song warms her heart somewhat.
Excellent. You'll notice that there has been also oh, pardon me. A man you know, Muzzlehatch, comes over, and he's been with you for a while, traveling with you, and his name is Krogon, and he himself is a Cimmerian from the north, and he's also traveling with your party, but he's been off doing stuff, and he comes walking over, and you see a huge, broad-shouldered barbarian with a bearskin loincloth and a fairly tight-fitting, large, linked vest of chain or links, ringmail, and he's got a humongous two-handed sword. Actually, it's not a battle axe. I got the wrong one there, but he's got a huge two-handed sword. And he comes up and nods, and he goes, "Oi, that was a beautiful song. I have not heard that instrument in the north. We only sing. Hmm." And he reaches forward almost to pluck a string scat, and you realize he is truly huge as he leers over the table. He must be almost 7 feet tall.
And yeah, I'll quickly pull the instrument away from Krogon, because I know him a bit at this point, enough that I'm probably a bit too cocky. And yes, I say it's, you can look, but you can't touch, Krogon. Only a master can wield this instrument.
Yeah, and he nudges you on the shoulder with his knuckles, and of course that jostles you almost into the lady, but your toupee kind of goes kilter a bit, and then he goes, "Oh, well, I'll see you in the morning," and he stumbles off. You can see he's pretty inebriated and going to do barbarian stuff, but he may or may not join you in the morning. Probably, you see there's some ladies over there that are impressed with his pecs, and so he's off. So the evening draws, and it's getting on a bit later on, and whether you're drinking or not is up to you. And I was going to say there, I have some carousing charts, but I think we'll maybe leave that. You can get in a lot of trouble with those and such. So for the moment, does anybody want to do anything before I, of course, move on the event?
No, I think happy. The Lady Marmaduke's just sipping a small drink. And perhaps William Taylor's challenging the newcomers to a game of dice or so. He's always up for a wager, but happy to move on.
Well, Scad will gladly participate, but Muzzlehatch, he'll most likely just have just a glass of wine and kind of sit back in meditation, just kind of surveying the area and being nice, but that's not his forte.
So you two kind of moved and start a light game of dice, and perhaps some coins are brought out. And the other two kind of are just to a party of seasoned adventurers such as yourselves. This is another bit of a dull tavern in another dull town in some nameless province, but it's another passage of time between the challenge of true adventuring. Such is the doldrum of existence, waiting for another opportunity. Outside the inn, a fog lies over the town this evening, draping everything in its clammy grasp. The damp cobbled street shines as the light of street lanterns dance across the slick stones. The cold fog chills the bones and shivers the souls of anyone outside. Yet inside this tavern walls, the food is hearty and the ale is warm and frothy. A fire blazes in the hearth and the tavern is live with the tumbling voices of country folk. Suddenly, a hush falls over the tavern, and even the flagons of ale seem to silence themselves. The tavern door swings open. Framed by a lamp-lit fog, a form strides into the room. His heavy booted footfalls and the jingle of his coins shatter the silence. His brightly colored clothes are draped in loose folds about him, and his hat hangs askew, with a large feather drooping back. Hiding his eyes in shadows, And without hesitation, he walks directly up to your table and stands proudly in a wide stance with folded arms. His accent is thick. I have been sent to you to deliver this message. If you be creatures of honor, you will come to my master's aid at first light. It is not advisable to travel the Slavic woods at night. He pulls from his tunic a sealed letter addressed to all of you in a beautifully flowing script. He drops the letter on the table. Take the west road from here some 5 hours' march down through the Slavic woods. There you will find my master in Barovia. Amid the continued silent stares of the patron, the gypsy strides to the bar. He says to the weary barkeeper, Fill the glasses, one and all. Their throats are obviously parched. He drops a heavy gold purse on the bar. With that, he leaves. The babble of tavern voices resumes, although somewhat subdued. The letter is lying before you, dated yesterday. The ink is still not dry, and the parchment is crisp. The seal of a crest you don't recognize adorns a wax seal.
The Lady Marmaduke quickly snatches up the envelope from the table, proclaiming to the others in the group, "Oh, this can only be for me. It must be a friend of my uncle's, the Baron Gustav. Maybe they're holding a party." And she proceeds to open the envelope as Bill Taylor next to her just kind of rolls his eyes somewhat.
So the letter on my screen share is written in this beautifully flowing script. And it goes, Hail to thee of might and valor. I, a lowly servant of Barovia, send honor to thee. We plead for thy so desperately needed assistance. The love of my life, Irina Koliana, has been afflicted by an evil so deadly that even the good people of our village cannot protect her. She languishes from her wound, and I would have her saved from this menace. There is much wealth in this community. I offer all that might be had to thee, and thy fellows, if thou shalt but answer my desperate plea. Come quickly, for her time is at hand. All that I have shall be thine. Kolian Indrovich, Burgomaster.
William proclaims, "My lady, it doesn't sound much like a party. More of a bequest for help. I think we have no business there. This is not for us." And
Although, Scad pipes up, if we are able to complete this task, I'm sure there would be a grand party held for us. I would wear my finest hat.
yes, of course, proclaims Lady Marmaduke. The musician is right. If we can help find this Lady Irina, they will sing our names in the halls. And the footman just nods in agreement. "As you wish, my lady." A dull air of resignation in his voice. He knows that he won't win an argument with her.
And it seems that we have a consensus, and you guys probably have a toast on it, and agree to leave in the morning. It's getting late at night now, and unless you want to stay up and do whatever, some of you may, I'll let you decide how you spend the evening. It's probably about getting along at 11 o'clock in the evening. And the locals are starting to dribble out, and the travelers are starting to go to their rooms and such upstairs. And of course, the lady and has her own room with an adjoining little suite for her Batman. And I don't know, Muzzle Hatch and partner probably have a small room to the side down the hall.
Muzzlehatch will he'll ask the others, do any of you know of Barovia? I don't believe I've ever traveled there.
And Lady Marmaduke saying, "No, I don't believe I have. I'm sure I have family there, though. There must be royalty there somewhere. Someone will know me." And then a footman, Bill, just saying, "All I know is it sounds dangerous." and that's all they know of the area.
Indeed. Muzzlehatch, he'll excuse himself from the table and say, I'll be right back. And he heads over to the bar, and he wants to ask the barkeep if he knows that man who came in there, or if he knows much of Barovia.
Hmm. To your surprise, he's Barovia. No, he's the bartender hasn't. He tries to think. It was a long time ago, but I thought it was conquered or abandoned or something. I thought that was just a rumor. Barovia, say. Huh.
Yeah, some 5 hours to the west of here.
That's interesting. That's the road I recall that goes up into the pass, and happens to be the road you were traveling on in the morning. Interesting. He kind of shakes his head. He's too busy. He goes shoveling. And you asked him about who the person in the hat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, their kind actually come through once a while. It's rare. It's kind of odd fellow, isn't he? Were you expecting him?
No, it was rather unexpected, but it was perfectly fine. He wants us to help him out, and he told us of this Barovia. Figured I would ask around, but party seems a little strange.
Well, I'll fancy that. And he's called off and goes back to the kitchen with stuff.
I'll leave a few coins as a tip to the bartender and walk back to the table.
So, getting later on, you see Krogon's crashed somewhere. He's off. If anybody else has anything?
No, the Lady Marmaduke is keen to retire. She has her evening ablutions and routine to attend to, or for William Taylor to attend to her.
And so the pair excuse themselves and head off to their suite, and that leaves Scad and that Muzzlehatch, of course.
So yeah, they Muzzlehatch stands and weary from the day of traveling. He says, "All right, let's head on in." And Scad agrees, and he goes, "Yeah, I should probably wipe down my my instrument before we retire, give it a proper tuning."
So the evening ends, and our group goes to their respective places and does their thing. And you're going to meet for after breakfast and hit the road by 8 o'clock, hopefully. And so, without further ado, the night passes without incident, and you're woken by the roosters and the servants moving around, starting the fires and so on. And you end up meeting at your table down below and around breakfast and just finishing up, and you've had your tea and warm milk and so on, and a fairly hearty breakfast. Any thoughts before we hit the road? Whether you dine together or not actually is your call. I'm just assuming that you to move it forward.
Nope, it's I'm fine to get going. Leave as soon as everybody's ready. Will Krogon be joining us?
So far he's not around. You don't see him. You last you saw he was with a couple local ladies, and you could hear his laughter and such.
Well, Scad will do a quick once around. He'll go listen in at some of the rooms and see if he can hear his telltale barbaric snoring.
Indeed, and sure enough, you do. And surprisingly enough, you find it in the stables.
So
And
I go and I'll give him a mighty slap on the ass. Tell him, "Wake up, Krogon. We got to get going."
you accidentally slap the milkmaid. And he's reaching for his sword. That's a dangerous thing to do. Give me a charisma check. Oh, and he whips around and he grabs your neck in this vice grip. Like it's so quick, you were just like, whoa, like, uh, and he looks at you with these steel gray blue eyes for a second before just right away, blink, blink. Oh, hey, and he kind of clunks your head against his a bit. Oi, oh, yes, 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 and he gets up and he's butt naked, just does a big stretch. Oh, and he starts grabbing his stuff. Are we heading out?
Yes, we're heading to save the young maiden. You can put some pants on, cover that thing up before it looks at me the wrong way.
Oh, yeah. And so you two come back, and he inhales like 4 people's worth of breakfast, uh, and he's just like oh. And there he is. He's coming apparently. Anybody left?
No. The Lady Marmaduke just comments that she felt they were better off without the stench of the barbarian. She kind of holds her nose somewhat as he returns to the party.
Right. And you guys head out, I'll assume, and not necessarily need a marching order at this point. I'll assume you hit the road at whatever means you have. Uh, the barbarian striding purposefully near the front with his sword on his back, and he's talking with whoever is beside him. Um, and everyone is kind of strung out and heading on the road. Now, who has the letter? Somebody probably kept it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think the Lady Marmaduke would have put that into her purse.
Okay, so you head out, and there's black pools of water stand like dark mirrors about the muddy roadway, and then there's quick cold mists spread like a pallor over the road. There's giant tree trunks stand on both sides of the road as you start entering the forested region near the base of the mountains. Their branches claw into the mists. In every direction, the mists grow thicker and the forest grows more oppressive. And after about 4 or 5 hours traveling, you come to a signpost on the road. And it has it's kind of teetering to the side, and it's seen a lot better days, but it has an old sign teetering sideways that actually says Barovia. And it points down a track that doesn't look a lot used. It looks a bit overgrown, and it heads deeper into the forest off to the left.
Scad will say, "Well, this looks like the way," and he says, "Let me go first, my lady, in case there be ambush or trap." And he'll go on.
Yeah, Krogon nods. And everybody's carrying through.
Mm-hmm.
So moving off down this track, and the woods loom about you, and the mists creep in. And after not far, about 20 minutes, jutting from the impenetrable woods on both sides of the road, there are high stone buttresses loom up gray in the fog, and there's huge iron gates hang on the stonework. Their dew clings with cold tenacity to the rusted bars, and 2 statues of armed guardians silently flank the gate. Their heads, missing from their shoulders, now lie among the weeds at their feet. They greet you only with silence, and you're about 100 feet away.
So at this point, the Lady Marmaduke, she's actually riding a small pony, being led along by her footman who's walking beside. And the pony kind of neighs and tries to rear a little bit at the sight of the gates. And William Bill Taylor holds it steady. Just kind of says in a low tone, "Careful, my lady." And the Lady Marmaduke just kind of frets somewhat and rebukes the footman. "Bill, keep the pony stable. Keep the pony stable. It almost threw me."
And Scad, sort of sensing his cue, will pull his instrument around and start playing a gentle sort of song. to try to sort of lift the spirit around here. Kind of the whole fog thing's bringing him down. He's hoping that if he can sort of charm the pony, it'll get him in the lady's good graces. Maybe one day she'll hire him to play it at her court.
Okay, and almost on cue, you start to play the instrument, and a light drizzle starts. And then Krokon looks at you like, what?
Sorry, it's just slightly flat. They can quickly read.
And now it starts to rain lately. Of course, things start to get damp and cold. And there's a little bit of a wind picks up, but in the forest, it's not too bad. So there's this weird gate there.
Okay, Scad will quickly, after playing for a moment and it starts to rain, he'll cover up his instrument and yeah, he just goes, I can't risk it getting wet.
Can you see the handout I shared on Roll20, perhaps?
Yes. No, it's pretty
Yes.
cool.
Oh, yeah.
So it's pretty epic, right? And you realize that, are these, what? Yeah, so sorry, you moved forward, right, Scad?
Yeah, Scad will move forward. He's put his instrument sort of in its case to protect it from the rain, and he'll move forward and take a look, just kind of looking for traps mostly, or seeing if he can sense any magic as he gets closer.
And
Excellent.
as the bard's doing that, the lady on the back of a pony looks to the barbarian. You there! Can't you see the gates blocking the way? You go and open the gate. She kind of points towards and kind of throwing her arms around, trying to get Krogon to go and do her dirty work.
And as the two of you move forward, Scad and Krogon shrugs and joins Scad moving forward. But you see he walks pretty lightly, and he's got his hand almost subconsciously reaching to that huge hilt behind his shoulder. He doesn't draw his weapon yet, though, and he's looking at the ground carefully, and you can see he's using his northern barbarian skills to kind of read the terrain and listen and such. And Scad, you're pretty impressed how lightly he can walk for such a big brute, and how quick he moves. But as you get to within about 50 feet, and the gates with a creak and a large clang open, seemingly on their own. This long drawn out screech, almost, and then there you are. The gateway's now open, and as you get closer, if you want to proceed, there's nobody there.
Mr. Taylor, who's leading the pony forwards, says, "This is not a good sign. Who opened those gates?" But the lady, she's actually more joyful. Oh, well done! You managed to open them without even touching them. How impressive!
And yeah, Scad will kind of look back and sort of taking credit, gives her a nod, says, "Yep, it's an old bardic trick."
And as you move closer, that now the gates tower above you now, and you realize at one time these were quite majestic battlements, perhaps some outpost or large fortification. But now they're abandoned, crumbling. You don't recognize the heads or anything. The style is very, high Middle Ages armor and stuff. And you can see through on the other side. The track continues, and off in the distance you can see mountaintops. Peeking through the fog a bit. The fog is a bit light right now. It's probably about 2 in the afternoon, right? And the fog is a bit. So your call.
Just quickly, did the large statues have any sort of symbols on it that Muzzlehatch might know?
No, they have a style that reminds him of, like I said, kind of a chivalric Eastern look, stylized.
All right. Well, Scad and Muzzlehatch will move inside. Muzzle Hatch, because he's kind of in the back, he'll keep an eye out behind them.
Mm-hmm. And not much seems to happen as everybody proceed through the gateway.
Yep.
All right, everybody moves on. And sure enough, as the last person goes through, with another creak and clang, the gates close. And there's a moment of ominous silence as the clang echoes and rings through the forest. And the fog seems to be kind of roll suddenly closer, and your vision, the sky sort of gets blocked out now as the fog seems to move in physically, and your visibility is limited. Still, you can still see probably about half a football field, maybe, 50 meters, unless the forest is blocking. But then there's this kind of mist, and even already behind you, you can see the gates are still there, but there's a mist swirling around them.
Mm-hmm. So at that sort of cue, Scad will just kind of get his composite bow ready, and he just, he's gonna get an arrow ready.
And you hear the two-handed sword silently being pulled out. Krogon takes the cue.
Mm-hmm. Muzzle Hatch has his mace and shield.
Yeah, and at the clang of the gates, we'll call him Bill from now on, William Taylor, kind of spins around and sword half drawn. He doesn't unsheath it fully, but you can tell that he's alert. But the Lady Marmaduke, she's just more giddy with glee. Oh, magic gates, how wonderful.
Yes. So it seems there's one direction to go unless you want to enter the forests. And the forests here are pretty dark and thick, made up of mostly deciduous trees. Yeah, no, wait, did I get that backward? They're like firs and...
Yeah, firs and stuff are coniferous.
Yeah, I got that. I knew it. Pardon me. Coniferous forest. Not quite alpine, but very stout trees, dark. So forward ho. And now Scad's still taking the lead with Krogon.
Yeah, and Scad's going to be doing a cursory look around. It kind of looks like this place has been abandoned for quite a while, right?
Well, I'll make a tracking roll here for Krogon, because Krogon leans down and goes, and there's traffic very light. Looks like shoes, humans, some wagons, but very light. And he looks up, wolves. There's been wolves on this road in the last 24 hours.
And they seem to be going the same way we are?
They do not go through the gate. They're only on this side.
Okay.
Our side, he says ominously.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to be careful.
And so, unless you wanted something else, we're going to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Entering the woods doesn't seem very good thing. So, jutting from the impenetrable woods on both sides of the road, towering trees whose tops are lost in heavy gray mist block out all save a death gray light. The tree trunks almost touch the thick, damp undergrowth presses in on you, make it impossible even to see one another at times, sometimes. One moment. Actually, pardon me, everybody. I queued up the wrong thing. You travel for a while. I need Scad to give me a wisdom check. And actually, I'm going to get the lady to give me a wisdom check, please.
It's a fail.
Right. It's most unwise. Now you do, everyone sort of smells it after a moment though. That was for something else.
I also crit failed, Darren. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I did. I see that. Okay, so the lady, you catch the scent of death on the air. Suddenly a whiff of carrion.
What's that foul smell? And she starts to like brush her hand in front of her face. Barbarian, is that you? Is that you?
And he's a little ways ahead, about 60 feet or so, and he turns around, and now that the breeze or whatever brought it to the lady, others can now smell it, and even he wrinkles his nose, the barbarian. Ooh. And it comes from over there, and he's pointing where the breeze came from, and the barbarian's good at this stuff. To your left, there's definitely something dead in the forest.
Bill, who's still leading the Lady Marmaduke pony along, has the reins in his hands. That's the smell of death. We shouldn't tarry here. Let's move forward quickly.
Indeed, the wolves may be close.
Aye, they'll be able to smell it.
Now, Krogon, he does check for tracks again, as he does once in a while. He does find that the wolves have been here, and this is probably not for a while though. You see that there's some wolves that have been actually in that area. They came from that area of the forest where the sting came from, but he says it was probably a few days ago. But he shrugs. He goes, it's probably over. It smells. And he goes, the tracks are probably a week old. Close to a week old.
Well, at least at this rate, if we keep moving forward and we kind of side skirt it, we're downwind of it all. So if there are wolves in that area, then we might be able to get by them unbeknownst to them.
Right. So moving on the trail then, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one moment. I'm going to change us maps just for an overhead to give us. It's just a general overhead map. We'll switch to. So let me know if you can. I'll have to. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
I don't know if it's me. It seems like it's still low. Oh, there we go. Yep, I can see it now.
Excellent.
So are we this token?
Yeah, and that was the gate you guys passed, and then you've gone about this far, and you moving on. So the forest up ahead, you move for a little ways. It tends to open up, and the roadway on either side, the forest draws back suddenly, and you see there are fields. Most of them appear to be fallow, and appear not to be used for a long time. In fact, they have scrub growing in them and things. But you see there's a couple patches of measly crops, kind of staple stuff, some meager wheat. It's probably like 30% growth, half the fields are rotten and stuff. Moving forward, you see the wolf tracks. Krogon says that they've kind of left now. They're more around the forest. And he goes, it's just now just regular, some carts and a few tracks of people. And you guys want to keep moving along, I assume?
Yep, it's fine with us.
Sounds good. I'm just checking the scale real quick. What's the scale? It's probably
By
scale.
us I meant Scad and Muzzlehatch. I didn't mean to speak for the lady and Bill.
No, that's fine. Yeah, but Bill's he's leading the pony along cautiously. His eyes are scanning from left to right. You can tell he's trained and he's wary. But the Lady Marmaduke, she's just pleased to be out of the oppressive trees and back into the open air again.
Yeah, and things are opening up a little bit. You notice the forests were quite oppressive, and visibility is opened up now. And up ahead, as you're moving across this plain, you see on your left, out in a field, you see three figures. One of them is working, appears to be a scythe, and two of them are wrapping up the wheat in bundles, whatever meager wheat is had. They're probably about 100 meters away. They don't appear to see you at all or anything, but that's the first people you've seen. From what you can tell, they're dressed in rather drab sort of peasant garb with it's patched and holed. One of them has a sort of stale smelling pipe that's going over the wind, and they're not, they don't appear to be talking or anything. They just seem to be focused on their work, and that's the only people you see so far. Up ahead, you see buildings appearing out of the thinner fog. The tall shapes loom out of the dense fog that surrounds everything. The muddy ground underfoot gives way to slick, wet cobblestones as you approach the village. The tall shapes become recognizable as dwellings of the village of Barovia. The windows of each house stare out from pools of black nothingness. No sounds cut the silence except for a single mournful sobbing that echoes through the streets from a distance. So now I'm going to bring us to the village map if you guys want to enter the village, of course. Probably won't be able to see anything at the moment. I'll fix that. Do you guys are going to enter the village?
Yeah, I feel like the sobbing might be exactly where we need to go.
Yes, and I'll have this village ready in a moment. And this is just an overhead map. We're not going to be, we'll just be using it for. Can you actually see it at the moment, or do I have to bring the avatar in here?
Yep, I can see it. Yep.
I can see it.
Now, fully over half the houses seem to be completely abandoned. Some of the windows and doors are boarded up. Some of them are smashed and hanging askew. A lot of the tiles are hanging and broken and dilapidated with broken chimneys. There is smoke coming from the odd chimney here and there, as you can see. And the village is actually fairly decent size. In its original state, it maybe could have had 7, 8, over 1,000 people, which would be a decent sized town. But now there's probably just a few hundred if you had to estimate. Mostly run down, dilapidated. There are a couple people shuffling around, you noticed, and they look the same. You haven't talked to anybody or walked up to anybody or seen anybody. As you're here, pardon me, you're at this part here, and you look at each other, and I'll let you proceed. You see that there are two people walking away from you down the main street. Again, don't seem to be ignoring you.
Scad,
And they're ignoring this crying. There's a sobbing that's echoing. It's real faint right now. Pardon me.
Mhm. All right. Well, Scad kind of lowers his bow, and he slings it over his shoulder, and he says, "I think I'm gonna try to get a gauge of what these people are like." And he says, "If you will all just hold on." So Scad will hurry up and call out to the people who are walking away. It's, "There, sir or madam, may I spare a moment of your time?"
They turn around, and you see an elderly couple, and they're dressed. The woman has like a patched shawl that's a bit stained. The guy, he has what at one time would have been actually quite middle class sort of suit in the kind of Bavarian style, right? Sort of lederhosen and so on, but you can see again it's stained and a bit. They got a bit pale features, and there's a bit of a scared look in their eyes. They look at you, and they look at each other, and he kind of, they move back a bit. We have nothing for you here. We have nothing for you here.
And Scad will show them his hands, that he, in a sign that he means them no harm, and bow graciously. And he says, "I'm sorry to have startled you."
Aye, you shouldn't do that. In this, strangers are not welcome here.
Further back in the distance, the Lady Marmaduke just kind of leans towards Bill and whispers to him, "Did he just bow to a commoner? Oh, how disgusting." And Bill just tries to hush her. "Milady, we must be quiet. This could be a dangerous place. We do not know yet."
And you thought, Bill, that you saw in a building, you thought you saw like a quick drapes being drawn shut, something, or someone had been watching you. And you look around and you get, yeah. And the lady suddenly is like a bit, is conscious that they're, yeah. And so Scad, this guy, and they start to walk away, and they go, or no, he goes, "Yes, you'd best leave now, stranger. This is no place for outsiders. Strangers are not welcome of Vervea. It is a sad place."
But that is the reason we are here. We come to lift the sadness from one poor girl.
And his eyebrows rise, and, "Well, no business of mine. Good day to you, sir." And his wife giving you looks like just dagger looks of suspicion as they unless you stop them or intercede, they turn and shuffle quickly up this, away from you, up this road. Almost seems randomly just to get away from you.
Yeah. So Scad turns around and heads back to the others, and he just mentions that yeah, there's something very strange going on around here. They don't like strangers, and they weren't at all charmed by me.
Bill remarks, this place has a sadness over it. Something is not right here. Can you hear the sobbing?
The sobbing stops now. Actually, I forgot to. It does stop. I'll put your. Okay, so that's where you are right now. You notice there is the center of the village is up ahead, and there is an area where there is a meeting of a crossroads. And traditionally in these villages, that's where the inns and important buildings are and such like that, of course. It was hard to tell where the sobbing was coming from. It was echoing through the village.
Well, we should keep an ear out for the sobbing. I feel like that's where we need to go, but maybe we can head to the center of the town and get a better idea of what's going on.
Okay. And you're welcome to check out anything or go do anything you want. But the center of town, sound good?
Yeah. So yeah, the Lady Elizabeth is looking to see if there's any more townsfolk in and around. She says to the bard Scad, "Music man, you didn't learn much from those common folk. Let me try. They'll answer to a lady." And she trots off on her pony, looking for somebody to speak to.
There happens to be a cart with somebody on it. It's empty. It's being drawn by a kind of a gaunt pony itself, and there's a kind of paunch-bellied guy again in lederhosen, and he's got these high stockings that go up to their knee. They appear to have, and he's wearing like kind of a suit jacket that's patched and worn, and he's kind of tapping this wagon towards you, and he notices you, and he starts somewhat, but he keeps it going, keeps it clucking, kind of shrugs. But you can walk up to him. He seems he's going to pass your party and go right through it. He's heading east. He's probably going to that field to get the wheat.
So Bill's looking wary, but the Lady Marmaduke trots up on her pony, and looking down upon the man, albeit not by much, it's not a very big pony. She just says to him, "You there, commoner. You may refer to me as your lady. Now tell me, where can we find the lord of this town? I can't speak to the likes of you. Who's in charge here?"
He pulls this old corn pipe that seems to have a permanent black and yellow hole in the side of his lip, or where it sits. He pulls it out and it smacks his lips apart, and with black, missing teeth mostly, he turns his yellowish, bloodshot eyes to you. "The lord of this place, my lady, is up there." And he points with the pipe handle. And it seems kind of on cue. And you did notice that it's about 3 in the afternoon, and it's probably as light as it's going to get, but just kind of almost on cue. You can see through the rooftops and the chimneys way off, probably a couple miles at least away. Suddenly, in a break in the fog and through a break in the, you can see this huge structure on the top of this bluff. And it's this multi-spired Gothic castle. And it's very impressive and majestic. And give me one moment.
Just as Darren's doing that, the lady turns to Scad almost smugly and says, "See there, music man, that's how it's done. There's where we must go, of course." And she motions off towards the castle in the distance.
There's a heavy crack of thunder. And did that work, by the way?
It was majestic.
And the rains gets heavier. It was light drizzly still, and you could just make out. And the lady's like, "Yes." And then you see, without further ado, the guy plunks the pipe back in and just looks ahead and taps the pony, and it starts to cobble away through the cold and wet cobblestones. It's the clatter and clank. And he seems to ignore any other attempt to bug him.
And I guess there's no address, dear lady, on the envelope that was sent to us. Nowhere that we can search out this man and woman. I realize that it will be fortunate for us at one point to go see the Lord, but it was not him who sent us this letter.
But surely the lord of the town will know the lay of the land. Maybe they will know where this lady is, or why she's gone missing. Yes. And at least they'll have comfy beds up there in the castle house. I can't simply stay in another inn overnight. It's not befitting of me. And Bill at this point is saying, "Milady, there's a storm brewing. We don't have time to travel to the castle. Maybe we do have to seek refuge in the inn."
And you do have the copy, right? I made it available to you, I think, in the journal of the letter.
I'm going to take a look.
So you'll have an opportunity to look at the letter on your travels and at any time. So it does have some information there. It does. Kolian Indrovich, the burgomaster, apparently wrote this letter. And it goes, yeah. Can you read underneath it? Like, you see the letter, but can you also see the text underneath it where it spells it out?
Yep.
Okay, so in case you're having difficulty with his writing, it is in very, very nice writing. Like, the lady's impressed. It's very good penmanship. Whoever wrote it, this burgomaster, appears to be, like, that's the mayor, right? The burgomaster. Whether he lives in that castle, that's possible. She's not impressed with the title, burgomaster. Oh, we lost Ben. Oh, he's having connection issues, I see. All right, so while he does that, I'll get it organized. Actually, I got to get this next part teed up. All right. Hope you're having a good time so far.
Oh, for sure.
The intros, you have great characters. It's going in. There it is. Okay. Oops. You catch the smell of death in the air. Okay, so hopefully Ben is reconnected.
Yep.
Excellent.
So, is it? Do we understand what the title of Burgomaster might be? Because I don't.
Oh, well, then go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Darren mentioned it was the mayor.
Oh, forgive me. That must have been when I was rejoining. Okay. Yep.
Oh, yeah, all good.
Yeah, that would be a regionally title, like comparable, yeah, to a mayor. And
So,
you're
I
sitting there.
guess.
This Cartman goes off, and you see him go into the mist, and kind of sort of you see the mist sort of once a while they'll blow by that castle, but then this rains come in and it's obscured again. But you were given this majestic look, and the lady was right impressed and going, "Ooh, this must be it."
Well, Scad sort of lowers his head and does a quick scan when they're in the center of the village. And he goes, if there's a tavern here, I'll sniff it out. I'll make sure we get some shelter.
Indeed. So forward toward the center then. Again, the houses on either side, you think once in a while you see something closing something, but a lot of them I swear are abandoned. You've heard a thump and a scratch from one suddenly, and you turn and look, and there's nothing there. Was it just anyway? So Scad's leading the way, and Krogon's had his sword put away now, and he's looking around, just kind of like, whoa, You know, he hasn't seen too many cities and villages. Well, I guess he would have. You come into the center of the village. You see that here it connects five things. There is pardon me, that's the wrong one. There appears to be the sparse light from this building spills out from behind drawn heavy curtains. A sign over the door creaks on its hinges, proclaiming this as Bildreth's Mercantile. And it must be some sort of place where you can buy things or exchange things, but it looks like a rather drab building, sort of leaning. But across from it, now it's the one, pardon me, I should get a little organized here. That's this building here. That's the Mercantile. But over here, you actually hear the sound of, and the bard's ears perk up because you hear a sound of sort of like one of those Eastern accordions. You know what I mean? Those light, kind of nice accordion kind of sounds. And it's spilling out from the doors of what appear are, if indeed, a tavern. A single shaft of light thrusts into the main square, its brightness like a solid pillar in the heavy fog. Above the gaping doorway, a sign hangs precariously askew, proclaiming this, the Blood on the Vine Tavern. And just theater mind, this is a rather sort of gothic-looking tavern, multi-towered, single floor, typical sort of tavern it looks like, and you can go in there if you wish or do whatever you want.
Well, yeah, Scad will lead the way. And he'll burst through the door in a loud uproar and proclaim, the Lady Marmaduke approaches, and he'll bow low, getting ready for her to enter.
And Bill helps the lady down from the pony, and seeing hopefully like a stable hand or someone nearby, he throws them a coin and asking them to stable the pony. And upon hearing her name announced, the Lady Marmaduke does indeed enter the tavern, broad-shouldered and stiff-backed, and she walks in as regally as she can, followed by her footman, who kind of trudges behind, warily, hanging his head somewhat in shame.
And you enter as a sort of sooty, smoke-filled tavern that has a sort of smell like used bit of like cooking oil and staleness. The music stops, or no, the music keeps playing. And to your surprise, the music is being played by a monkey. And to your surprise, the music's not bad, Scad. The monkey keeps playing, and the monkey has its foot chained to a sort of little stand. And in front of the monkey, there are 3 women, and they are dressed similar to the gentleman who showed up the previous day and brought you the letter. They're dressed in these very colorful silks and sashes, and their hair is done up quite beautifully, actually, in flowing black hairdos. One of them has a perfect or nice, kind of a rough bun put up with pins through it. Another one has flowing hair that's braided in multiple braids down the side. They're wearing makeup, and they have their nails are done up and really well, and they have black eyes and olive skinned, and they're twirling and dancing to the monkey music. And with them is a tall, broad-shouldered, not as big as Krogon, but you see there's a gentleman in there. He seems to be a handsome man. He's dressed like the locals outside, but much finer. He's got sort of a lederhosen thing going, but he has the top undone, and it's the flaps are hanging down below. And you've just interrupted his dance with the 3 gypsy women. And the music keeps playing, but they stop and look at you for a moment, and then you see the young guy. He's probably in his early 20s. Seems quite handsome. He himself has a bit of a mutton chops going that are well trimmed, and his hair is done. It would have been if it's a bit askew. You see he's a bit stained and stuff from ale and wine, and he seems really drunk. Like he sways a bit and teeters, and one of the gypsies laughs and brings him, helps him go sit at a table. You see that they have a table near the fire, and she sits him down and sits with him, and the 2 other gypsies continue to dance. So after they look at you for a moment, they just laugh and start dancing again. You see there's a bar on your right, and there's a bald guy there, not very pleasant looking, quite skinny and gaunt looking, and he's polishing glasses one after another, and he didn't even notice you. Like, he just keeps polishing glasses and putting them down on the counter beside him, and then when he's done one row, he just goes to the beginning and starts polishing it again. There are few locals here and there smattered. They seem to be fixated on their drink, and probably are all inebriated at one point or level. But they did look up, most of them, and they have the same sort of look. They got these sort of broad features, dark hair, same sort of lederhosen motif of various levels. And there's a smell of kind of stale sweat a bit in the air too. And there's also a waft of perfume. You can tell from the gypsies. So you have your choice now. They seem to have acknowledged you. The young man seemed to be a bit too drunk. Oh, pardon me. Let me roll, because he... So she starts to take him to a table, and he's like, he with her help, he turns around, and he kind of walks up to the lady, and attempts to bow. And it comes off more of a, without the help of the gypsy girl giggling, he probably would have teetered off. If not, it wiped you out. And he's, my lady, I, I bid you welcome. And you notice now that he has a black band on his arm. On his left arm, you notice now. And he's, I must admit, you see, he's kind of, my lady, I must apologize. I have to go to the washroom. And he teeters off toward the back with the gypsy's help and goes, you assume, toward the latrines to apparently vomit.
Um, the Lady Marmaduke, she's kind of covering a mouth and nose with her hand. "Oh, Mr. Taylor, how revolting! How revolting! Make sure they don't get that close to me again." And then she's looking around for like a tavern girl or the innkeep. "Mr. Taylor, find us a table. Why am I still stood here?" And Bill goes off to try and find them seating.
Now, the young man did give clues that he had high station and wealth. He had this frivolly shirt on that had, around the collars and the wrists, there was like, embroidery and frills. And he had sort of this colorful flower motif. And it's the first kind of color you've seen anybody wear besides the gypsies that wasn't stained and drab. You know what I mean? There's color, but it all looks like grayish. But anyway, he stumbled off and you're like, yep. So go on.
Muzzlehatch will also accompany Bill and the lady, and Scad pulls out his instrument, and he gets the idea that he's going to help win supper for everybody. And he approaches not too close to the monkey, but he kind of motions in the best way that a bard can to a monkey who's playing an instrument.
And a 2 and a 3.
Yeah.
Now the monkey. Okay, Jim. So you go up to the monkey and you have your instrument out.
Yeah, and I'm just going to start accompanying him. I'm going to let him lead the charge, and I'm going to funnel in. I notice, okay, yeah, he's playing in C
How do you
minor.
introduce yourself to the monkey? Like you actually.
I will. Geez, I don't know if he knows any sign language. What I'm going to do is, I'll just kind of get not too close and start picking along with him, and then he'll hopefully look over and notice, and then I'll kind of just come in closer. Of course, not making any aggressive stances. I know he's still a monkey.
Okay, he had stopped playing and he had been eating some food out of a bowl. And he has one of these, and it's actually a pretty nice instrument. I'm not sure if you'd recognize it because it's sort of a cultural instrument. It's like I said, it's one of these hand squeeze organs. But you notice that it has some levers on it and stuff for the fingers, so you can actually change the pitches and things and create different effects.
All right. Well, I will. If I notice that he stopped for a moment before I head over, I'll try to find some little treat or something to toss to him as well, and I'll go over with my instrument and kind of roll him over whatever I can scrape up, some apple or maybe even some little kind of sweet thing, and then I'll pick up my instrument and start going into a jaunty sort of something that the crowd can dance to.
So you go to bring him some food. Now I'll say that there were some. Now it's pretty specific, kind of. He looks at you as you bring the food, and he looks at you, and he stopped playing, and you can see he's chained to his post, but he looks at you, and just follows you, and he put the food in, and he picks it up and sniffs it, and eats it, and he nods at you and looks you right in the eye.
Perfect. I'll give a nice big
strum.
smile. Yeah, and then I pull out my instrument, do a quick check to make sure it's tuned, and I start bursting forth with song.
Nice. And your instrument, of course, plays well, and this monkey hits it. Like he starts playing, and the two of you actually fill the music, and there's a couple gypsies come out on the dance floor and start to sing and laugh, or laugh and dance, and they have their silks out and they're dancing. Now, while this is happening, you see the lady and Bill are watching Scad. Krogon, he goes and he's dancing with the good gypsies. And they're laughing and throwing the silks around his arms and jumping on his bicep and hanging and stuff. And he's like lifting them up and down. So while he's doing that, what does the lady and Bill do? Bill does see that there are options. You can either sit by the grimy window, or you can sit near the monkey, or you can sit near the bar.
So
the heat is by the monkey. Like that's where the fire.
The lady's keen to get warm. And she enjoys the music of both the bard and the monkey. So Bill seats them, but actually then he excuses himself, mentioning he must use the ablutions, and he actually makes his way towards the latrines to follow the drunk.
And you just follow up just as you hear this laughter, this little tinkling laughter, and there's a and there's this finishing up. Oh my, that's better. That's better. All right, I think I can head back. And just as you're heading back toward the back latrines, the door opens and you see the young guy. He comes in and sort of escorted by the gypsy girl again, and she sees you and goes, "Oh, pardon me," and she lets go of the young guy and skitters and tries to go around you. If you let her, of course, she'll go around you, Bill, and she gives you a quick look and you almost think a wink. And
Okay.
she trots off into the main commons. Now this guy, he's got a cloth out and he's been wiping his mouth off and stuff, and he looks up and you see he looks a little more sober, but you can tell he's still bleary eyed, and he kind of chuckles again. He goes, "Oh, and his hand though you see instinctively went to a rapier at his side. Because he was a bit startled, but you can tell that this guy, and you can see there are some calluses on his hand, a swordsman's callus.
Okay. So Bill stands there. He's blocking the man's path, and he's making his best attempts to look menacing of himself. And he sees the man twitch and reach for his rapier, and Bill just looks down at the longsword attached to his belt, but doesn't move for it. And then he just holds his hand up as if to block the man's path. "You there? Where can I find Kolyan Idrovich, the mayor?"
His eyes widen suddenly, and his shoulders go back, and he seems to it seems like he's splashed cold water in his face in a sense, and he looks at you. "Who wants to ask that question?" And he glances quickly at the black band. You see subconsciously before his eyes meet yours, and don't flinch. And his hand still is close to the rapier. "Why do you ask this?"
Why do I ask this? Because he invites me here. And a man who invites me here is a friend of mine. Now tell me, where is he? And he's almost in a demanding tone. Bill was not at all fazed by the motion towards his rapier, and he's just scowling at this drunk, as if to say, "You're not one to ask questions of me."
"He's dead."
"Dead? When? He sent me a letter not 2 days back."
His eyes narrow. "You lie. He has been dead 5 days."
And Bill mentions to the armband, "That's why you wear that, is it?"
He looks at it, looks back slowly. "Aye. He is my father."
And at this revelation, Bill's demeanor softens somewhat, and he nods in my sincere condolences. "We have much to discuss. Perhaps you should join us at our table."
"I don't feel well. I fear I've drunk too much. But I'm weary. But I must go soon as well." And he's looking around, almost like where the gypsy girl went, and but then he kind of shakes his head. "Who are you?"
"Me? My name is William Taylor, footman to the Lady Elizabeth Marmaduke. We come here at bequest of Kolyan Idrovich. He asks us to find the love of his life, Arina Kolyana. That is why we're here."
And then his eyes widen. What? That's and he seems befuddled and confused. He's just what? This ah oh my brain. And he come let's go. And he almost like puts his arm over your shoulder. You see he's still really drunk, and he's having you can tell he's having a hard time. He's baffled, and he walks forward and he puts his arm over your shoulder, kind of because you can tell he's having a bit of trouble maneuvering down the hall. Where do you lead him?
Yeah, Bill's softened to him at this point, having learned that his father's died, and he leads him back to the table, ordering coffee from the barkeep as he passes. You there, strong coffee for this man, and helps the young man back to the table with Lady Marmaduke and the others.
Now to our others. We'll just give them a moment. Now you're playing music. The gypsies are dancing. Krogon's having a blast, and he's like, woo, he's grinding. He's, you're rolling your eyes a bit, Scad. You're like, oh well. The monkey is you two are really rocking.
Yeah, it's as fun as a barrel of bards, as they say.
Indeed, and the monkey surprises you. Like, I mean, he's brought it up a notch. Like before, you realize he was just sort of, he was, getting forced to do things, or maybe. But now you see he's actually into it, and he's playing, and he starts to take you on a song, like because you kind of switch music, and he plays you a song. You don't really recognize it. It's similar, but it has that Eastern European sound, and you're impressed. And then, is there anything you want to keep playing? The gypsies seem pretty content with you playing, and they're dancing, and Krogon, and
Oh, for sure. Especially when the monkey starts taking it into the new direction, Scad will definitely kind of just play more in the background, trying to catch up, get a good feel for the song before he tries to do anything fancy, because, the monkey's time to shine. But he's just having fun. He's mostly came over here and joined because he realized that the monkey being chained was, doing this against his will. So he wanted to just kind of give the monkey even a little bit of fun.
indeed. And as you play a bit on, then you'll see in the back, you'll see that this stranger, this young guy, will appear with Bill. But we'll get to that in a minute. Is Muzzlehatch doing anything during this time?
Muzzlehatch is going to be staying with the lady, especially he notices Bill gets up and leaves, and he has enough of a sense through his religious ceremonies, and like the town that he was with had a sort of formality behind this religious institution, so he kind of understands that the lady needs someone to kind of wait on her, and he's ready in case anybody comes up and tries to talk to her who may be of the unsavory sort. So he's just kind of waiting with the lady for Bill to return.
Okay. And the lady herself is getting herself settled as she's observing stuff, but also I'll let you, Bill or Ben, if she wants to do anything. I'll assume.
She's enjoying the music.
Yeah.
You'll notice that the music like brings the lady to life from an otherwise kind of serious face. So she's like actually clapping along to the monkey playing, and kind of just nodding away in her seat.
Nice. And that's when you see Bill show up with this young gentleman that almost fell over when you were introduced. And he seems a little, well, he's still worse for wear, but with Bill's help, he gets across, and Bill brings him to your table. You see him coming up. And the guy, you see, he's presented himself a little bit. He's put his straps back on, his lederhosen, and you see he's made an attempt. He sees his shirt's buttoned up, but it's one button's off, so it's sideways. And he's kind of done his hair quickly, but he's still swaggering a bit and is bleary-eyed. And he kind of curtsy bows again. My lady, your man here has told me some interesting revelations. You come here to bidding of my father. But this is not possible. He has been dead now nigh 5 days.
And Lady Elizabeth looks up, hardly hearing the man. She's more focused on Bill, like scowling with rage. Mr. Taylor, why do you bring this man back to my table? And Bill just bows again slightly. Forgive me, my lady. Please, you must hear this man out. Listen to what he says. This is the son of the burgomaster, the man whose letter that we followed to this town. Please, if you would, my lady, will you show him the letter? And he helps the man sit, and kind of scooches him into the booth where they are, with him against the wall and Bill taking the outside seat across from the lady and the cleric. And at the request, Lady Marmaduke just kind of tuts and, very well, Mr. Taylor. And you see her going through her bags, and she takes out the letter and unfolds it and places it on the table. Careful to not let the man touch it. She doesn't want his like dirty hands all over this fine paper.
And he can't read it. His eyes are so bleary. He covers one eye up, and he just can't read it. And he's too drunk. Like you can tell, he's trying to look at it, and he's maybe my can you read it to me?
Yeah, and she just tuts and she makes a crack. Maybe that monkey over there could read it to you. Mr. Taylor, and she passes the letter to Bill, who unfurls it gruffly. And he's been educated somewhat. And he opens the letter and begins to read it out in a gruff voice. Hail to thee of might and valor. And he reads through the letter to the son.
And he's shaking his head as you read through it. What? And he goes, I don't know. It's Irina. Irina is my sister. And it's true. She's in danger. But it's not from. And he shakes his head again. It's from that bastard. And his eyes go and look in the direction of the castle. And he goes, my sister, Irina. We will have to help her. And then he kind of he turns and he points to the south part of the village, and out one of the grimy windows, and he points and he goes, Irina, my sister, and then his head just hits the table. Wham. And he's snoring.
The Lady Marmaduke tuts. Oh, sister? Well, I never imagined. I would have thought it was his lover by the way the letter was written. Mr. Taylor, you can take him away now. And she kind of like makes a brushing motion towards the man who's passed out on the table. And Bill, yes, as you command, my lady. And he starts to try and pull the man up out of his seat as if to remove him from the table.
Yeah, and he's surprisingly heavy. He's a pretty strapping lad, but he sort of mumbles and sort of semi-wakes up and, Sasha, yeah, let's, when you do that, I love it when you do that. He's kind of mumbling as Bill takes him to the side, and you see two of the gypsies come up, and they're laughing and giggling, and if you let them, they kind of take him under each arm. They each under each of his arms, and they lead him off to some tables, and they prop him up.
Bill does let them in. He just gives him a command: sober him up and bring him back to us when he can stand on his own 2 feet.
One of the girls, a redhead, quite voluptuous, quite beautiful, very beautiful. Even you're like, whew. She looks at you with these big eyes and laughs and tinkles. Can't we get you a drink?
Bill winks back. He looks towards the Lady Marmaduke. He's looking over at this exchange between Bill and these 2 women.
The brunette goes, yeah, he's too drunk. He's boring. Why don't you come join us for a drink?
And catching the eye of the Lady Marmaduke, he kind of looks back to the women sheepishly. Says, maybe another time, ladies. Maybe another time. As the Lady Marmaduke's scowling at them.
And they laugh, giggle at each other, and go, "That's a promise. We'll be looking for you. Come here any time, darling." And one of them takes a silk handkerchief or little uh, sash from around her waist, and she ties it around your waist. Keep in touch, dear, and she'll kiss you on the cheek, unless you stop her.
No, Bill doesn't stop her. He blushes somewhat, and he just pulls the sash like a notch tighter as he tightens a knot around his belt. Aye, it's a promise.
And they escort the stumbling young man. He didn't even say his name, actually. And they bring him to a long bench where they kind of lay him out near the fire. And he, "Oh, yeah, okay, thanks." And he turns and he snores kind of half. And then they now quickly back to Jim. You see that you finish up a furious song, like you had this crescendo, and you're both connecting, and like this monkey's, you're getting eye contact, and he's like, and you're cueing each other and stuff, um, and you're having a kind of a good time, and you forget yourself a little bit, but then you stop on a strum, and you hear over your shoulder this really tinkly light voice says, "You better be careful. That one is very charmer." And you turn and you look into the eyes of this pretty blonde gypsy, and it's the third one, and she had kind of snuck up sort of behind you, and she goes, "You look thirsty. Would you buy me a drink, perhaps?" And my sister, she giggles, and she points with a languid hand over your shoulder, and it brushes your cheek as it goes by, and she points to her two sisters, who are now they're kind of comically propping the young man up and sort of being careful to give him a little pillow and stuff, and they're like laughing and giggling. And what does Scad do? You were a bit startled, like, "Whoa, whoa, that was."
Yeah, so he puts his instrument down for a moment, or he kind of lets it hang at his side and makes sure that it's away from the gypsy, just because I haven't rolled to see if this is like an actual gypsy instrument, like if they might be able to pick up on that, and then Scad thinks that they may have some nefarious intent.
Mm.
To separate a man from his bandolier is worse than anything. And but he of course turns on the charm, makes sure his toupee is on right, and he says, "Yes, go order us around, and I will be down after my next song."
Oh, a song for us. We'll dance for you. We'll show you the red fire dance. Would you like to see that?
Absolutely. And then I turn to the monkey.
We need something
Red fire.
fast with a double beat. He knows it well. She says with a kind of a glance at the monkey.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes back to her sisters, and they laugh and giggle. So now we'll go back to the table, and it's your call. It's probably about, well, it's hard to tell in this place because it seems like it's midnight, but it's probably more like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, if not, it's hard to tell time. But you recall you got in the area like mid-after 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It couldn't have taken you more than a couple hours to reach the village, but it's hard to say. It's time you realize now is a bit weird. But it is daytime. You look out, there is a bit of a hazy blur over there of the sun. So you do have some time, and it's open for you to do what you will.
So the Lady Marmaduke, she chastises Bill as he returns to the table. "Mr. Taylor, did you let that harlot kiss you? How very disgusting." And Bill's like kind of grinning, but at the same time he's saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, my lady. She caught me off guard." But actually, you can see like he's like beaming at the annoyance of the Lady Marmaduke. You can see that he gets some enjoyment out of that. And guess they're all hungry. Well, certainly Bill and the Lady Marmaduke are, so they're ordering food and drink. I guess while they discuss next steps with the other members of the party.
Kitchen's closed. Oh wait, no, it's not. It's not closed. Yes, coming right up. When you go talk to the bartender, he seems to be constantly buffling, cleaning these immaculately clean glasses. And you go up and he nods, and then you see that they're going to bring some food out to you, and they bring you some wine, and the wine is surprisingly good. That's one thing.
Is Krogon still with the gypsies as well?
Oh, let me think for a moment. Krogon will probably, yes. He'll be with the three gypsies, and they're gonna get ready to dance for you apparently. So while you can start up the music, there's food brought out, a large tray, and it's sort of this stewy broth. You're not sure what kind of meat it is. It smells sort of like, tastes like chicken. It's actually not. It's really quite drab, but it does the trick. You're hungry, and the wine at least is good. And Jim, you can. The monkey starts to tap its foot and to cue in the sound, and it's a really fast song, really fast. And then he starts this, and the girls come out, and the three of them line up, and they have their shawls now. They've had the shawls around their waist and around their chest and their hair and such, and now they spin and dance in front of you as you hit the music. Now it's different music, and it's really difficult. You can tell, and the monkey again surprises you with its intricate rhythms, and he creates these different sound effects too often. But it doesn't take you long to catch on, and yes, you don't fudge it. Your fingers keep up.
Even with, if it's a +5 check, I still pass.
Right. The girls, now you can see, somehow are taking the shawls off, and yet you're not seeing. You think you're trying to see, and you're like, oh, I'm going to see some good bits here, but they just manage to cover up, and they spin around and dance. And it's about an 8-10 minute dance. While you're eating, they're doing this. And Krogon joined you to eat, but his eyes are raptured on the gypsy girls. They're all spinning, and then they stop at the end and with a flourish, and in quite suggestive poses. And the monkey stops playing, and they laugh and giggle and move forward. And well done. It's really hard to play the triple. You did well. They giggle. Will you see us tonight for a drink?
If I'm lucky enough, then if I'm lucky enough to, then we shall.
Oh, they giggle, and one of them takes the sash, and this time she lets the top bare for a second, and you see a magnificent rack as she puts that sash around your waist and ties it, and then she quickly spins away, unabashed. And her sister's like, "Oh, you harlot!" And they're spinning. They're trying to tie sashes around her, and they're giggling at each other. It's like a little pillow fight thing. They're, "Oh no, stop it! Oh, I missed it again! Oh, I missed again!" And it's just like, whoa! Every guy in the room is just like, "Oh my lord!"
So now that there's sort of a moment in between the set, Scad will give another bit of food to the monkey, and just kind of in emotion that he's sorry, and that if Scad wants to free this monkey, but at the same time it's not the best idea now.
And you're not sure where it stays or whatever, but it just sits there. You can't go far. You see the chain is probably 6-7 feet, and it's a silver chain, by the way.
While he's kind of over with the monkey, Scad wants to just kind of inspect the scarf that she tied around him, because he's good with lore and knowledge of items and stuff. He wants to know, is this some sort of gypsy tradition, or like is there some magic
Mm-hmm.
tied to this?
So have you been drinking? Has anyone been drinking, by the way? The wine?
No, not really. Scad's been playing the whole time, but
Yeah.
Muzzlehatch would have tried some of the wine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the lady would have certainly been drinking the wine.
Okay. It does go to your head pretty quick. Just to let you know, it's oh, this is strong. It's more like a port, a strong port. You know, probably 2.5 times stronger than a strong wine even. So you're all feeling pretty good, even if you had just one glass. A couple glasses, you know, you'd be a bit glow, so to speak. Sorry, Jim, you were going to. Oh yes,
Yes.
you give a bit of food. Now the monkey does look you in the eye when you give the food again, and it nods to you, like just in thanks, probably,
Mm-hmm.
and throws feces at you. No, I'm just kidding. It
Yeah.
and it does touch your arm, your forearm, and then puts its hand back, and you're like, okay. And like you said, you kind of feel a little pang, but and so you check out the scarf. Give me a intelligence check.
Okay, because it's a 5% chance for his item lore,
Yeah.
but I will roll for intellect. I got to roll under 12. Nice.
So it's okay. What you do find, and you think like, well, that's kind of odd, is you read the letter, correct?
Yes, I'm
You
pretty sure we all did, kind of in
yeah.
turn.
On the corner of the sash, you know, there's what do they call those? The monogram or the stitching?
The same as the
Personalized.
seal.
Yes.
Huh. Mm, Scad doesn't quite have a good feeling about this. He he stands up and he puts his instrument back in its case, and then he goes over to the table with the lady and everybody does a short bow to the lady before sitting down. And is there anyone else at the table, or is it just the gang?
Just the gang. And the bartender comes up. We'll be needing places to stay.
And Scad will stand up and say, "Yes, your finest rooms, please."
Rooms. You'll have the Queen's suite, and then the doubles. 12 gold pieces.
Sure, we can muster that between us all.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys
And
have money.
and of course, I would like to mention again that Muzzlehatch orders food and drink for his god.
Yes, keep on good terms. So here you are in the tavern, and you're finishing up the meal and enjoying the good wine, port. The
But now
music
that
was good, the entertainment, but you look out the grimy window and you can see that the sun is going down, it seems, in this place early, and it's getting darker, and the mists are creeping in, and it's only maybe 6 o'clock, 6:30, but it's getting
and
dark.
Scad, though, he'll sort of lean in a bit and keep his voice down, and he says that I've I've had a revelation about the letter. It says that I don't know if it's just the mark of these people, but the seal on the letter is the same as the monogram on this sash. And he'll show the party, and he says, I fear that maybe if there is some ill folk behind all that is going on, that maybe these gypsies have something to do with it. Usually the only sort of people that enjoy all this misery are the ones who cause it.
And the lady glowers at Bill. And she says, "See, I told you they were no good." And the footman looks down at the sash tied around his waist and sees the embroidery on it matching the seal. Looks up towards Scad. I think you're wiser than you look, Bard. And he pulls out a knife from his boot and cuts the sash from his waist and kind of kicks it down under the table into one corner under their feet.
And Scad will graciously, he'll take that sash that has been kicked under the table, and he'll tie it around the other sash. And he says, I'm willing to spend the night with these gypsies and see what's going on. And he mentions to Muzzlehatch, because he knows that he's a pretty sober guy, he gives him the his instrument in this case, and he says, keep a close eye on it, for I fear those gypsy women may try to take it.
Mm.
Oh, how frightful, comments Lady Elizabeth. Mr. Taylor, I'm ever so glad that you've taken off that dreadful sash. You won't be going anywhere near those gypsies now, will you? And Bill just looks up, of course not, my lady, he says, and then he turns to Scad and just gives a little wink.
Indeed. Yeah, Scad, boy, like it's pretty hard. I'm impressed to turn down, especially that fire dance. Like Scad, you're obviously a young man,
For sure.
but anyway, carry on. So you guys decide what you want to do. You see that the young guy is still over there, sleeping on the bench. The monkey is watching, is awake and is looking around. He looks at your table often, and the gypsy girls at this point they're off sitting at the bar, and they seem to be enjoying these drinks that are being served in what appear to be some sort of goat horn or something, and they haul it out the middle, and then they put them in these little silver stands, and then you drink them, and they're cheering each other and drinking them and laughing and looking over at your table, of course, once in a while.
Yeah, so Scad will excuse himself from the others, and he says that if I don't turn up in the morning, come looking for me. And then he'll kind of wink at Bill. He's like, or don't. And he says, yes, I'll try to figure this out. And he
I'll try to figure this out.
tightens the sashes and heads right over to the bar towards the gypsies. And with a flourish of his hand and taking the tips that were given to him from the earlier performances, he says, let's get another round for these ladies and a drink for myself.
Oh, and they're right away. And your friend, who was it? The redhead, right? So the redhead's name is Sarvia. You see Sarvia, she goes, oh, and she pouts, like, oh, pouty face. And where's your friend? You have both. Aw. Well, that's just twice as much for you, she says.
And yet Scad will just smile, do a bit of a nod, and slam his drink.
So you see Scad goes off like a dirty shirt, and the girls are on that, and they look back. You see Sorvia, she does look back and try to wave, but Bill is Bill. So back to the table quickly. What do you decide to do for the evening? There's still actually time left. I shouldn't say it's evening. It's like 5:36.
Muzzlehatch will, whenever it's okay to, he takes Scad's instrument and retires to the room and goes through his ritualistic shavings and sort of prayer ceremony to his god.
Okay, so you're going to take the room and call it. It's early, right? Like I said, it must be looking at the old clock on the wall, and yeah, it's like not even 6.
Mm-hmm.
So you go do your rituals, and that could take half an hour or something, hour?
Yeah, maybe even an hour or so.
Yeah. So the lady is left with Bill at the table, and the dinner is completed. It's still early, though. Too early to retire, isn't it?
So the lady's, she's asking Bill, oh, Mr. Taylor, we must walk off this terrible food. Please escort me. I want to get the lay of the land. And Bill's responding, My lady, I don't think that's such a good idea. We don't know where we are. It could be dangerous. We shouldn't be walking out after dark alone. She's like, nonsense, Mr. Taylor, nonsense. Now, come on, take my arm. And she kind of proffers her arm to him. And he kind of sighs reluctantly. Yes, my lady. Don't forget to pay the innkeep. And he places a few coins down on the table. And they are going to just get the lay of the land around the immediate area in the village.
Yeah.
And basically take an evening stroll.
And you do recall that the young drunk he pointed and mumbled something. That's a lead, possible lead, just and so on. You do. So you head out into the main square, and you look toward where he pointed. There's a street that goes south, and it seems that's maybe a bit more the affluential part of the village, perhaps. Seems the buildings are a little better built and larger, and so on. The ones that are still standing well. In this direction here, you see off in the distance there's a hill, and I should reveal a bit more because before the weather gets in. And on that hill appears to be a church, a pretty large church, and you could just make out the silhouette of it. And right now you can't see the castle off in the distance. And to the south, well, you have your choice, any direction of the compass. You came from the east, of course.
Bill remembers what the young man had said, but he's to all intents and purposes, as far as Lady Elizabeth is concerned, they're out for an evening stroll. But Bill's definitely leading them in the way that the drunk pointed.
Okay. And you head that direction, and it has gotten darker, and you see a guy in a sort of a dark coat, and he's carrying a pail that has like a drip thing on it, and he's going down the streets, and he's lighting the lanterns. And some of them aren't functioning. You see some are broken and stuff, but he's lighting the ones that work, and there's this dull kind of flickering light. And you're wondering why he's doing it right at this time, but anyway, there he goes. And you head south, again, same sort of buildings, right, left, and as you get a little ways down, hereabouts, halfway down, I'll show you a bit more, you see that the street ends in a large sort of mansion. And, give me one moment, there he is, okay. A weary-looking mansion squats behind a rusting iron fence. Oh, pardon me, one more thing. When you guys head out, suddenly from the south, you've walked a little ways, you've probably gotten about this far, you've just walked, or pardon me, you've gotten about this far, you're walking by the mercantile, which is apparently shut down for the day, the doors are locked, and that's when you start to hear a sobbing cry again. And this time, you can tell it's coming from the south.
Oh, how dreadful. Can you hear that sobbing again, Mr. Taylor? I'm a lady, yes I can. And they move towards it the Bill's leading her towards the sound.
Okay. A moaning sob floats through the still gray streets, coloring your thoughts with sadness. The sounds flow from a dark two-story townhouse. You can see the house now, and you can tell the sobbing is coming from the house. It's about 40 feet square. It's boarded up and barricaded. Oh, pardon me. It appears to be boarded and barricaded from the inside. So somebody was barricading it from external threat. And you can hear a sobbing coming from possibly upstairs. Yes, upstairs. And the guy's lighting a lantern. He's ignoring it. Like he just goes right by, and he goes right by you guys totally ignoring you unless you intercede, but he's just lighting the lamps as he goes by.
So the lady Elizabeth does stop him, and you there, lantern man? What's that noise coming from that house? Why is somebody crying?
So he turns to you, and you can see he's blind. He's got a soiled rag across his eyes, and there's kind of scars going down his face. Hey, what? Oh, that's just, oh, that's Mad Mary.
Bill intercedes. Mad Mary? Oh, in a boarded up house? Oh, how dreadful. And then the lady Elizabeth goes, oh, I want to hear this woman's story. Why do they call her mad?
Everybody's mad in these places. And he turns and shuffles on.
Bill looks up at the lady. I think we should move past this house quickly, milady. I don't think there's anything for us there. And she agrees. Yes, it's how dreadful. I don't want to hear it anymore, Mr. Taylor. Carry on.
And you guys leave the mournful sobs behind you. And it sounds, now that you were close enough, it did sound like there was some woman sobbing and moaning. But then you walk by it, and you get to about here. That's when you can see a large mansion, clearly the biggest building besides maybe the inn and the church. It's comparable, though. It's clearly the perhaps the burgomaster's abode, unless he's in the castle. And one moment. A weary-looking mansion squats behind a rusting iron fence. The iron gates are twisted and torn. The right gate lies cast aside while the left swings lazily in the wind. The stuttering squeal and clang of the gate repeats with a mindless precision. Weeds choke the grounds and press with menace upon the house itself. Yet against the walls, the growth has been tramped down to create a path all around the domain. Heavy claw marks have stripped the once beautiful finish of the walls, and great black marks tell of the fires that have assailed the mansion. Not a pane nor short of glass stands in any window. All the windows are barred with planks, each one marked with stains of evil omen.
Look, what a dreadful place, Mr. Taylor. It's been ravaged by fire, and what are those marks? And Bill was wary at this point. He half casually places the hand not onto the top of the hilt of his sword. I don't like it, milady. But he does kneel down he gets closer to see if he can examine the claw marks around the walls to see if he can learn anything from them.
Indeed. And you're like wondering, oh, you wish you had the barbarian here. He knows this stuff best than anybody, but he's back with Scad or whoever. So you want to go enter the grounds? You want to go into the gate and closer inspection? Because you're actually you're standing in the street just outside the gates, looking at it, and you still have a couple hours, quote unquote, of daylight, but it seems this permanent sort of dusk. You know what I mean? It's
just as Bill starts to step forward, the Lady Marmaduke says, oh, Mr. Taylor, maybe this isn't wise. Maybe we should fetch the others. The big smelly barbarian folk, he knows about these things. And Bill kind of stops just as he's about to cross the threshold of the gate. Perhaps you're wise, my lady.
But at that moment, Bill, you look over and you see that there was a light, and some of the light was coming through the cracks in an upper floor of the mansion, and so somebody had a lantern on, and then the light turns off.
Did you see that, my lady? Somebody's inside. And he says, we'll just be quick. We don't need that big barbarian just to look round an old house. And with that, he strides over the threshold of the gate. and up the path towards the house. He's not going to enter the house, but he does want to take a closer look.
Mm. Uh, so it appears that there are tracks here, and even you can tell the barbarian showed you that some of these tracks are, wow, some are human footprints. There's some paw prints, most likely wolf. They're large and have the claw pattern. And there were also, barefoot prints uh, of different sizes, but humanoid. Um, there's also human. Okay, actually, you wouldn't know better. You're not a specialist in tracking, right? And whatnot. So yeah, and you can tell that apparently there's been a lot of activity around the house, like something, and like wolves or dogs or somebody's been running around the house clawing at it. Not sure if their intent was to get in or not, or well, maybe, but the place you can tell has been fairly heavily fortified, and all the windows are broken. The scorch marks, apparently things have been thrown against the building, like oils or fire effect from something like that, soot stains and such. And what else? There's weeds are all trampled around the mansion. And yeah, but the door apparently you kind of skirt around the sides a bit, and the lady's nervous, like, and but you're tempted. You go around the edge. You can tell it goes all around the building, but it appears that the place has not been breached. There's no obvious holes or breaches, and the front door is solid. It's a heavy door with big iron braces on it, and it's got one of those little mini windows, like little sliders you can open in it, and it also has a heavy knocker on it. Or it had once a knocker on it, and the knocker has been ripped off. You can see where there's like a stain mark in the door where traditionally people put the big knockers, and it's been ripped up and taken. You look around, you don't see it.
So yeah, the lady she's very cautious at this point, and she's saying to Bill, oh, the young drunkard, he said his father was dead, right? We never asked him how he died. Maybe something happened here. This must be his house. Should we proceed? And Bill was looking back to her. I'd feel better about this if we had some of the others with us. That priest and the barbarian, maybe. The bard's up to his own bard-like things, but maybe they can help us. And the lady agrees, and they decide to maybe head back to the mansion, to the inn, and see if they can find the others to come back and investigate.
So you turn around, and again, it's gotten a little discernibly darker. The fog's rolled in a little more. Seems now the lanterns are starting to flutter wailfully in the streets, and off in the distance you hear a wolf howl. You can't tell how far in the distance, but it's far away, and it kind of gives the lady a little bit of a shiver, and you of course hear the sobbing is still going. It hasn't stopped this whole time. And it sort of echoes through the streets. And you see a couple people in front of you that came and walked by you, and this was two children and a couple. Or no, two children and appeared to be a nanny or something. And they totally ignore you, though. In fact, when they saw you, the nanny turns the children around and goes the opposite way. And they came from this direction.
Yeah, the lady's certainly taken a fright at this point, and she's grabbed onto Mr. Taylor rather too tightly. And she's saying, "Mr. Taylor, take me back to the inn. I don't like it out here anymore. I've had enough of a walk." And they are hurrying back towards the inn to see if they can find the others.
Well, time plays tricks on you, but it couldn't have been longer than a half an hour or so, you think, maybe 45 minutes. Now, during this time, back at the inn, you see Krogon is actually, to your surprise, he's sleeping. Scad.
What?
Yeah, you turn around and because he wasn't with you at the bar when the girls are all giggling. You turn around and think, hey, where's Krogon? And he's over there uh, sleeping, and he does this. You've known him for a little while, and he sleeps wherever he wants, and he's kind of sleeping on a bench. And the girls, you did a shot of this drink. Now, Jim, give me a Constitution check. This stuff you realize right away. It's like whoa, uh, it's like absinthe.
That's a fail.
So you look over at Krogon, you're like, I can't hold his alcohol, right? Or you hear him snoring from over here. And the girls, they're kind of pawing you and and rubbing up against you, and they're laughing and giggling. And before you realize it, you've had probably 3 of these shots,
Nice.
and you're getting a bit snaggered. Uh,
So I've been telling them stories, mainly
yeah.
how I've thwarted evil villains and saved children and that whole thing.
Oh, and they love
And
it.
and but I'll ask. I'll look around at a certain point and I say, most of the people here seem pretty dreadful, not fun at all. How do you all stay so chipper?
Ah, they're all boring, aren't they? They're all boring. Eh, who knows? They're sad. People are sad. Not us though. We're happy, and we're gonna show you happiness. And uh, they're kind of hinting and such that they want to take you someplace. But they're still listening to you talk. They like your stories, and you've been drinking with them, and you're all laughing and giggling. They can incredibly. They're holding their alcohol. Like
Hmm.
you lost count. They probably had like 5 or 6 of these shots.
Yeah.
Uh, so you're having fun. You're pretty drunk though, so you're not thinking straightest, but you can still think if you want to try anything else. And unless you want to, apparently they're going to lead you upstairs.
No, I'll just go along.
Okay.
And I just say, I'll mention to the barkeep or whatever, just, keep an eye on my friend. Don't try to rouse him. Yeah.
Yeah, snap your neck.
Yeah. He might not take too kindly to that, but I'll toss the innkeep some money, a generous tip, and thank him graciously.
Hmm. So you head up, and the girls are all like giggly and happy, and well, we'll let the camera pan away as wow wow. Uh, they take you to their room, Jim, which appears to be
I
kind of like a room that they stay in here. It's got
I
this all these Afghans and pillows and hookah pipes and uh, they have a huge bed in there, Jim. It's like a double king, and it's
I
got
can
these majestic posts.
I can assure you that I can't tell one room from another at this point.
Yeah, so you're laughing. Oh yeah, you're laughing. You got a girl under each arm, and another one is who knows where. And they lead you into this room, and there's a smells of incense in there, heavy. And you enter a blissful evening with the 3 sisters. And we'll leave that for now. Um, and we're actually going to get to the conclusion of this session pretty soon. It's we'll just actually I'll be right back, Jim. I'll take a couple minutes, and then Ben will be back.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll just take a sec too.
Okay, so Jim should be back pretty quick. So Jim, when you You return, you leave the Sovs behind you in the mansion. You get back to the tavern, and to your kind of chagrin, you realize that Scad is missing, along with the gypsy girls. You see that Krogon is actually snoring loudly by the fire, and that accompanies the snores of the young man. And the place is kind of emptied out. You see the bartenders polishing glasses, and you have your key there. He gives you your key for your room if and when you want to go to it. And you come in and you're like, okay. The monkey's in a cage. So it's your call. We're kind of getting to the end of the session, so it's a good time now, right? Scad's off with the girls and two Krogon snoozing.
Yeah, very much so. The lady Elizabeth will have the willies upper. She'll be keen to retire for the night. Trying to get the Mr. Taylor to. Well, Mr. Taylor, will you share a room with me? I don't feel safe in this place. And he's politely declining, saying, no, it wouldn't be proper, milady. But yeah, I think very much so they'd be ready to turn in for the evening, as they can't find the others.
Yep. And so that will probably conclude the session as you go to your spot and you realize that it's surprising, like this inn at one time was quite a posh inn in a way, right? Pretty nice. It's a bit run down, but it still has a bit of that element, and there's some cobwebs in the corners and stuff, but there are fresh sheets, surprisingly, and a large bed for you, and there's a little ensuite for servants. And you guys, I guess, bed down for the night, and that would be the end of the session. And Jim should be back in a second, but we've already gone over his conclusion.
Yeah, sorry, no, I've been listening for the last little bit.
Okay. Anybody want to do anything before they go to sleep, or is anyone staying up to do something? Let me know, or if you want to get up in the middle of the night. What you're going to do throughout the evening, let's say it's about 8:30 or it still was a bit early, but we'll say some time went by. It's hard to tell, so everyone decided to go to sleep. You're tired. And anybody, if you want to do something during the night, let me know or whatever. But if not, I'll assume everybody's kind of crashed out. And Scad is apparently having a good time. And now, Scad, I need you to give me a roll to see what you remember. And then I'm going to get you to roll a carousal roll for me at the beginning of the next session.
Sure. Intelligence?
No, this is a saving throw.
Okay.
Which one? Let me think a minute. This one would be...
I actually haven't made my saving rolls yet. Like I.
what? You're bard, so that's... Are bards as clerics or thieves?
It might be like because I'm a thief fighter. I think it's the saving throw is just whichever one's better.
Oh yeah, probably a thief. So give me your base number is give me 1 second here. Is 12 because this first is paralyzation, poison, or death magic.
Okay.
So I don't know if you have any Constitution bonus. You could add to that.
I'll let you know in a moment, but it won't pass.
Okay, so yeah, well, for what you do remember, it was going really well, but the next day, I'll get to this more in detail, but for the next day though, you really don't remember what happened. Again, it was probably the 4 or 5 shots of absinthe that did it, but you're like, whoa, I just blacked out. But anyway, I'm jumping the gun. I'll get to that in the beginning of the next session. We'll be starting with, unless one of you sends me a message of something you'd like to do, I'll be starting it tomorrow morning when you guys meet in the commons.
Yeah, sure.
If all goes well, right?
The only thing Muzzlehatch is going to do, he does his rituals, and afterwards he's going to make sure he really hides Scad's instrument before he turns in for bed.
Okay. And I'll shut down the recording, I think, if we're kind of done.
Great. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that was interesting. I appreciate it again playing. First session, of course, we didn't end up in any combat,
Yeah, for sure. That was good.
but
It's good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Nice.
yeah.
So is it same time next week, Darren?
I'll let you know if we're going to be skipping the Sunday or not.
Okay.
It depends on Jim and I and such commitments, but
Not a
I'm hoping either next Sunday or the next one. Okay.
The 13th, I'm going to be away, unfortunately.
Okay.
So that'll be difficult. So next Sunday or the 20th is fine, but I wouldn't be able to do the 13th, I'm afraid.
Okay. I'll talk to Jim and we'll
Yep,
set the next
we'll
one
figure
up.
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
thanks
Okay.
again, guys.
Thanks again. Nice to meet you, Jim.
Yeah, nice meeting you too.
Yeah.
Yep. Cheers, guys.
All right.
Yeah, see
See
ya.
you, Ben.
Bye.
All right, Jim. Yeah. That was
Thanks.
fun, eh?
Yeah. Also, we haven't rolled for the faults of Scad and Muzzlehatch.
Oh, I see. Well, actually, I was thinking you probably could make your own.
Okay.
Because I was
I
thinking,
mean,
yeah,
Scad is pretty vain. I don't know if that's exactly a fault, but
that could be a fault for sure. I'd consider that a fault.
yeah. Well, he doesn't.
No. No, and I tried to keep the pacing going a bit, and then,
No, it's good for sure.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hop off and then start getting ready for the game at around 3.
Oh, is there? Oh, cool. All right.
I believe
Cheers.
so. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but I'll let you know.
Right on. Okay.
All right,
See ya.
I'll talk to you later, Darren.